back to Buriram, Thailand. We are rounds 21 and 22 for the World Touring Car Championship. We're just about to go into FP2. We had FP1 earlier, but did actually finish a little bit early. We had a red flag situation because poor old Lapierre came off and crashed. But Pachito was the fastest man out on track. It was quite a good session, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really nice. The start of the day we had testing, which we sort of forgot about in FP1. And actually, Norman Michelis' time from testing was faster than Pachito's was in FP1, due to the fact they were doing different things, and we have free tyres in testing but not in FP1 because FP1 is basically the start of the weekend. So we will see a fast run at the end of FP2. That will give us an indication of who's really got this car nailed for qualifying. Qualifying, of course, starts at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Then they have the whole day before completely different conditions for then the races. This kind of replicates what they'll be doing in race conditions.
I had a little chat to Pachito after FP1, and it's funny because he actually is feeling the pressure quite a lot, and he said that the conditions out there are actually quite tough. It's obviously very, very hot as well, which is going to affect both the drivers and the car, but it was quite interesting to hear that he found this circuit quite difficult. Yeah,
I think everyone's coming here completely blank page. No one's run on this circuit other than Hugo Verlant. We could see at the early part of the session in testing that benefited him. He was right at the sharp end. Norman Michelis just knows how to find speed in new circuits. We've seen it all year. Pachito normally relies upon a lot of simulator work, but they can't find a good simulator track. So actually he's been on the back foot, and as you say, take a bit more time to get the car sorted to his liking. But, you know, at the end of the day, qualifying, he'll still be right up there.
And Norby could, of course, be potential champion of the Yokohama Trophy this weekend as well, couldn't he?
Yeah, he can.
There we go, that's it. Let's have a look now at FP2.
Thank you, Ben and Alex. Martin Haven and Matt Neal here, enjoying the cool of our commentary booth outside. 31 degrees, it's still a beautiful afternoon, and track temperatures dropped 38 degrees, down from 42 for first free practice. As Ben alluded to, not only did they have free tyres for testing this morning, but they also had cooler conditions. Less heat in the tarmac means that it tends to be a little less slippery. So as we now get ready for the 5 p.m. start of the session, then things could get a little quicker. As Ben said, Jose Maria Lopez 1 minute 40.0 in first free practice. Norman Michelis did a 1:38.26 in testing, and Lopez himself did a 38.98 in testing, so he did go a little quicker in testing, Lopez, than he managed in first free practice, but Norman Michelis was quickest of all in the testing. Matt Neal, the temperature drops a little, so the drivers, having thought they discovered something about the track, will now find it's a little bit different of a racing surface. And it's very easy then for the driver and the engineer to persuade themselves they've moved in the right direction, when in fact it may be the track that's moved in the right direction.
Yeah, it's interesting, as Ben just commented, in the initial test they're allowed free tyre allocation when they've obviously got to move on to their controlled, their pre-marked tyres for the official free practice sessions, of which is the second one. Pachito Lopez was one of the few drivers who didn't use new tyres in the initial test session, whether he was trying to get a real benchmark to see where we are.
Here the car's all warming up, getting ready for the session, but Nico Lapierre in your race suit but not in your car. What's the problem with the car?
Yeah, I had the crash this morning. We had a suspension failure on the braking, so I hit the wall in turn 3. So now they're trying to repair the car, but it's going to be very tight for this session.
And how much does that misfortune for the rest of the weekend, how does that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, if we cannot run in FP2, that will make it more difficult for sure. But we'll try our best, and tomorrow is qualifying very early in the morning with new tires, so it's different condition. But for the race, for sure, it will be more difficult without having training, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of representative of what you're going to do in the race. So the sun is low, the conditions are quite similar, but qualifying, how do you work out a setup for that?
Yeah, we did this morning a bit. We had new tires this morning on FP0, because FP0 was about the same time than qualifying tomorrow, but this session was the most important because it was the one to prepare the race, so unfortunately we're going to miss a bit of it at least, yeah.
All right, I hope you can get in the car.
Thank you very much.
And that's a valid point he makes about the test session. It was this morning. Qualifying is 10 tomorrow morning, and so, yeah, the track conditions will be relatively similar. And so using new tyres gives you, all right, you don't know the track and you haven't got a setup, but you do as a driver, Matt, get at least some feel for what the grip levels are going to be like, even if you're not maybe pushing to quite the same extremes as you will be in qualifying?
Well, and it's a new circuit to all the drivers. You know, no one's been here before, so they're going to be after every little ounce of track time they can get just to try and work things out, work where they can cut corners, where they can't cut corners. So,
well, again, Ben alluded,
Lapierre missing out on a big chunk of his free practice time. It's going to really put him on the back foot. Yes, the larder is going to be light with its on zero ballast this weekend, which should make them strong, but that's going to make it a fight for him to try and get into that top 10 in Q2.
Yeah, it will be, won't it? Ben alluded to the fact that only one driver has ever been here before. Actually, two, of course, because Tin Sriratai of Thailand has raced here several times. But the only other regular World Touring Car driver to have raced here is Hugo Vallant, and he raced here in TCR that was here just a week ago. So he came out.
And Bamboo, who running Demoustier in the Chevy. They were obviously here with
TCR
their
as well.
Their TCR cars.
So how much that translates in terms of setup is really a bit of a moot point, but certainly in terms of driver knowledge, if you've been here and spent a couple of days at the track driving around it, as you will have done in racing, then certainly Hugo Vallant has the knowledge of the circuit. See most of the drivers coming straight out. The practice start box is a very distinct and separate part of the pit exit. So you peel off to the left-hand side into effectively what's almost the slow lane again to do your practice start. Out of the pit lane, you come out after turn 1. So it immediately feeds you out onto this drag strip. And it is actually the end of a drag strip. There is a full quarter-mile drag strip, and this is the slowing down lane, if you like, at the end of it, which is also the run down from turn 1 to turn 2 and 3. And turn 3, where we saw Nico Lapierre smoking off. Originally the reports were it was turn 8, but it didn't look like that, and so it turns out it was turn 3. This is a quick corner, corner 4, and in qualifying that will have to be flat. If you can't take it flat, then you're in real trouble. And then the two left-handers, 5 and 6. 5 tightens into 6, and you have to treat it as one long corner. Then you sweep round the right-hander in turn 7, carry a lot of speed through 7. Right-hander here at turn 8, and again linking that up with turn 9. So 7 leads you into 8, 9, which immediately switches back into the left-hander at turn 10. You drop down and then climb back over the brow at turn 11. A little further back you can see this is the turn 10 is the corner in the middle. Turn 9, 10, 11 complex, just climb back out of 11, uphill again.
Yeah, that complex of sweeping left and right-handers has almost got a bit of Suzuka-esque about it, hasn't it? The way it all sweeps together, and you've got to get the rhythm going.
Hello everyone from this beautiful circuit in Thailand, Buriram. We start our flying lap just past the start-finish line. Brake for the first corner from around 80 meters. Important to be early back on throttle because we have a long straight coming up. Here we have time to chat about the weather, which is actually quite nice again. Difficult braking just ahead of us. Braking from 100 meters just on the edge. Very difficult to not lock the fronts. It was okay now. Once again early. Back on the throttle to carry as much speed possible to the straight between corner numbers 3 and 4. Huge challenge just ahead of us. Fastest corner of the circuit. Nearly flat. Some oversteer just in the middle of the corner. Once again braking hard for turn number 5. Long left-hander. Very big stress on the right front tire. They survived this one. Change of direction. Tires on the inside. It was okay. Tricky corner, quite fast, 4th gear, close to the tires on the inside. This is corner number 9. Again, long corner, once again, big stress on the front tires. This time it's the left front. This is turn 11, using all the road on the exit. And we arrive for the final braking. Once again, at around 100 meters. Second gear corner, short shifting to third. Again, early back on the throttle. This was a lap from Thailand. See you on Sunday.
Nice little lap. You really understand just how good this kid's English is when he's honking on down the straight, saying, here, we've got plenty of time to talk about the weather.
Well, all his video game prowess coming to the fore, then he's used to talking to his mates, isn't he, as he's...
Well, that's a very fair point, I guess.
Multitasking, but as you say, Martin, in another language, and you know, 3 years ago, Nobby was struggling to string two sentences together in English.
Actually, you kind of think, we've only known him 2 or 3 years, but in fact, it's like 6 or 7 now, so...
Nice big flat spot for Quinquamala.
Yeah. Well, Nico Lapierre will have to try and learn what he can from his teammates. We did think it was probably a suspension failure that had pitched him off at turn 1, and so it proved. Because these cars, when you hit the brakes, there is nothing left to chance. You have no margin for error. And if the suspension collapses, essentially one wheel stops touching the ground. I mean, it doesn't, but there's no weight on it. And as it's not bearing any weight, it can't do any braking. So you've effectively then got half the braking that you might have had. And as a result, you need twice the braking distance, and there just wasn't twice the braking distance left. So that's what saw him in the barriers.
Huffy's been struggling so far this weekend. He was struggling a little bit with his engine in first testing, so he didn't get to the bottom of that, but he's not been on the front foot as we know Rob should be.
Yep. That'll be eating all those insects with Alex. If you go to the World Touring Car website, you can take a look at Alex and Rob enjoying, if that's the word, some of the local delicacies. Pictures I saw as well. Gabriele Tarquini looking not entirely convinced that a scorpion on a stick was exactly the sort of thing that an Italian should be eating.
Yeah, Martin, when in Rome, is the old saying.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Okay, when in Rome, at least it's pasta and pizza, and we sort of understand that. But I'm not sure I disagree with him. You know, okay, a little bug or a cricket or a grasshopper or something, but a scorpion on a stick. I'm thinking, that might fight its way back a bit. It's like, okay, you might eat a beetle, but a wasp, that's quite a dangerous thing when it's alive. I don't know how much less dangerous it is when it's dead. I don't know. No, still had the sting on the end. Maybe hold the sting and eat the rest. I don't know. Not entirely sure. However, a third of the population gets a lot of its protein from insects, so what the hell do we know? Not a particularly long session, is it? 30 minutes. You think, well, it's half an hour driving around. Come on, that's like... And then you go, okay, well, that's 10 laps. And if you want to make any changes, then that's less. So it's sort of... Most people end up doing maybe 6 or 7 laps. That you really have to know what you're expecting when you go in, don't you? Otherwise, if you get results that you're not expecting, then suddenly time becomes very short indeed.
One of the reasons they've got an extra test session here at this track is it's going to be totally new. They're going to look at the Stefano just seemed to be missing the corner there. Yeah, they're going to look at the straight lengths, the corners leading onto them, but getting the gear ratios, getting them absolutely perfect is a critical part of setting these cars up, to maximize everything. And they're coming here, the teams, completely in the dark. Okay, Bamboo are going to have data, and as is Volant from when they're here in TCR.
But from different cars with different transmissions and different aero.
They're completely in the dark, so they're going to have had all the gearboxes out, stripping them. Here, Citre, if that's saying his name right, is again exploring all the bit of local land.
It's sort of a little bit like when we had Sabine Schmitz in a car at the Nordschleife. She knows the track intimately, but the car was totally different. And we've heard this, haven't we, talking to Nicky Katzberg, who's come in from GT racing, from GT3 cars with all the toys. And he's saying, these things are really bloody hard to get used to. First of all, you've got no ABS, you've got no traction control, you've got a decent level of speed and aero. But he said everything that's instinctive about driving a rear-wheel drive car is the opposite almost of what you need to do with the front-wheel drive car. Now, you've been racing front-wheel drive cars. When was the last time you drove BMW? 20-odd years ago.
Yeah,
you know,
I was in a rear-wheel drive car a month ago, so...
I know, but driving a front-wheel drive car is a very specialised business.
It is quite, but to be fair, Katzberg and Jaap van Lagen both hopped in it, both very, very fast, very impressive, straight out the box.
Yeah. Well, Jaap at least did have prior front-wheel drive experience with touring cars, with Lada and with various other bits and pieces. Nicky had had none, hadn't even raced a Clio Cup car. He's
They're
now...
just mad Dutchmen, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, he's now professing a desire to go Super Cup racing as well. He really fancies to go at Porsche Super Cup, which, of course, is something else that Jaap van Lagen has had plenty of experience of. I think Nicky would be very pleased to come back to World Touring Cars with Lada next year. I mean, the progress that the Lada team has made since the beginning of the season has really been significant in terms of reliability, in terms of performance, and really getting a handle on this brand new car. So, yeah, to come back next year would really be to reap the rewards.
That's a good bit of driving there, Vallon. He's obviously checking his mirrors, see Katzberg's coming up, so he's pulled off the circuit.
And I wonder whether he was coming into the pit lane anyway and stayed off the racing line.
But there's always a little bit of dust and debris off that racing line, so which you'll pick up on his soft, sticky tyres. And so, I mean, you've got to say fair play to him on that one.
No, fair enough.
Who's going very wide? Was that de Moustier going out?
Yeah, it was de Moustier. It's hard to tell, actually, when they shoot off in the background. It's almost like the last corner at Shanghai, where it looks like, oh, he's going off. Oh, no, he's going down the pit road. And it'll be the same deal here.
Oh, no, he's back on again.
Yeah, be the same deal here. Let's take a look at Norby, trying to string a quick one together. 2 green sectors.
Interesting, Norby, from his in-car lap, he has echoed what we've been believing all along, that this, he mentioned it 2 or 3 times, how hard this this central section of the lap is on the front tyres especially. So
that tyre stack on the apex of corner 11 gets very close, and especially, as you can see now, they're heading into the sun there. So it's a little bit like the witching hour at Le Mans when the sun starts to go down, and they'll be racing sort of this time tomorrow. I mean, this session 5 to 5:30. Race 2 starts at 4:15 tomorrow. Race 3 starts at 5:30. So this is exactly the sort of time, or 5:25. This is exactly the sort of time that they'll be heading into race 2. So they'll be heading up to turn 12 and heading up to turn 4, going straight into the evening sun. And 9, 10, 11, that sequence as well, the sun will be right in their eyes.
I just looked at that clock, which is actually the countdown. I thought it was 18:11. I thought, no, it's not. It's 17:11.
Don't. I have that at Le Mans all the time. Time of race compared to time left compared to time of day. See, that's 3 sets of times. I have trouble with 1.
Yeah, you just go back to your comments on the Lada, Martin. You know, we forget it is a brand new car this year. You know, it's a new thing for them. You know, the Honda's got a year under the belt, the Citroen's got a year under the belt, the Chevy has as well. So, you know, the way the weight swings around about, so okay, Lada have had some great results, but you know, they have been a little bit on catch-up because the Citroen and Honda machines won't stop developing their cars.
That's absolutely true. And Citroen, I don't think made huge steps forward over last winter, but I imagine that they will be knuckling down to try and find a lot of extra speed from the car this winter, because their rivals are very slowly creeping up towards them.
But you can't slow down, you can't stop. I mean, if you liken it to Formula One, the Williams with the Mercedes engine was a fantastic package at the beginning of the year, and now they're struggling.
Yep.
And that isn't because they've got slower. I think it's because the speed of development, they just haven't kept pace at the moment.
Other people have found more developments.
Agreed.
Thiago Monteiro 3rd, Hugo Vallant 2nd, and Jose Maria Lopez fastest, all in the pits. So Vallant was coming in when we saw him pull out of the way earlier on, and that was off the back of a 2nd fastest lap.
Well, you can tell Jose Maria is finding it really tough, as he's been saying so fast, because he's now fastest in all 3 sessions. So, but he has increased his time a little bit. He's 39.5.
Norby was fastest in the 1st session.
Oh yes, sorry.
So yeah, so only the ones that are timed and count. Yeah, okay, yeah. Gabrielli on a flyer. Maybe Banani's dropped half a second in sector 2. It's not good. Where's that gone?
Tarquini sitting in 7th at the moment, looking to try and...
Nico Lapierre might get out for the final 15 minutes, so that'll be, I don't know, maybe 5-6 laps if he's fortunate. Let's hope that,
they want to get him out, Martin, if anything, not to set a lap time, make the cars straight, make the cars working, it's all pointing in a straight line, and just so he's ready for qualifying, so he can go out with confidence on his fresh tyres.
And it's not about him setting a lap time either, as you say, it's about him getting a few more laps in. So faster lap coming from Tom Chilton. And Chile moved briefly up to 11th, down to 12th as Mar goes 10th. That's not going to get him writing postcards back home, is it? 10th place. So Lopez, where are the situations? So Lopez fastest, Muller up to 4th. Now that's better. So Muller having maybe a fresh tyre run there because he was languishing in 11th or 12th in first free practice. Where did he end up? 11th fastest. And he's battling with Sebastian Loeb for runner-up spot in the championship. Loeb in 14th at the moment. 1.16 behind, and he in fact is behind the local boy Tin Sritre.
Yeah, good time off Daste. Bounces into the top 10 for he's now the only Chevy in the top 10, but he's up to 6th, which is good time, just half a second off.
A little bit of oversteer there from Mar as he rode the curbs again between turn 8 and 9.
Got fans everywhere on that car, haven't they? Just pointing in drivers, brakes.
Well, everything overheats in these things, especially in these conditions. On board with Tom Coronel, he's posted a video online, an onboard video as well, so if you want to have a driver's eye view of the circuit, always good to go and check out his Twitter and Facebook accounts. He has loads of stuff up there from behind the scenes as well. Tom and twin brother Tim. Tim's back home, finishing preparations for their adventure in January in the Dakar. So they're off to South America again in their buggies. Oh, and another twitchy moment for Hugo Vallant. And Matt, you talked about this in the first free practice, how all the twisty-turny stuff, you want the back to be moving around a lot, you want it to rotate, as drivers say, to slide the tail so you preserve the front a bit. But that means the high-speed stuff, the car's going to feel a little bit scary.
Yeah, I'd say that, but you don't. Oh, he had a little bit of a moment there, didn't he? You actually don't want it to slide, you want it to steer. Yeah, it's...
little too much bump steer, are we saying?
That's a little bit too much rear end, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if his left rear toe arm is attached in any way.
Yeah, we're not going to see the wheel moving past, say, from eye shot. I mean, you're talking millimetres of movement. But
a degree
it does
or
make
something.
a massive, massive difference.
Philippe de Corsac gives a wry smile. Well, that was save of the day so far, wasn't it?
Hugo normally saves those sort of moves for lap 1, doesn't he? So
I'm saying it may be a little loose. Look, he's come back on from the pit exit road.
Was he that wide? He's gone through.
Yeah. He went, well, not that he went through the pit lane, but he went straight off the runoff area and crossed the white line into the pit exit road and then rejoined the track.
He's got 12 minutes left, whether he needs to just come in and sort his car out or just have a slow one and have another rethink about how to approach the corner.
Mate, I think whatever they've done, they've overdone a little.
Well,
do you know what? I'm looking at that left rear and I'm now convincing myself the left rear is towing out a lot.
Well, what you have, Martin, is you'll have static toes on the car which you work with. The wheels won't always be pointing in a straight line, and you can tow them in, you can tow them out for different reactions of where you want it on the corner. But then you also have your bump steer which you work with. So there's a lot of different things to play with. Interesting
watching the Chevy just then, that how much more tuck there was on the laden wheel, how much it tucked under. Thought, that's quite interesting.
Interesting. Michelitz's Honda flaming a lot more on overrun than the factory Castrol cars.
Well, it was smoking a lot as well.
It'll be Mugen Honda doing all the engineers doing both engines, so whether it's a particular map he's got in, because they've got a lot of adjustment with the anti-lagging systems for the driver, so maybe it's just Norby's running it a little bit more aggressively.
And some of that possibly is just the way the driver drives on the throttle as well, how much throttle versus brake he's using in different places. But
it's normally one for left foot brakers, but because they can trail the throttle in and out. But Norby is a right foot braker, so he's a classic. So unlike Muller, who's even from his ice racing days, he's a big advocate of the left foot braking technique.
And usually that's legacy of a single-seater career, but when Ivan was in single-seaters, they had manual gearboxes and clutches, and left-foot braking wasn't so much a thing as it is now with 2 pedals and flappy paddles.
That was proper heeling and towing back then. The
absolutely.
Old, classic.
Old school.
Lopez running a bit wide as well. He's...
Well, again, you know, I think the overall grip level is not especially high. And because of the long, fast straights, you can't really dial up wing, because that just means
they're still
drag.
learning the circuit. The way they learn it is they push it to the limit, they push it over the limit, and they pull it back, and then that's where they find it. And then they've got to do that for every corner on every lap with a different setup and a different trial, and then they've got to, you know, they could end up with 2 completely different setups giving the same lap time, but one will be faster in one part of the circuit, one in the other, and one will be better for overtaking or defending. And so this is, they're trying to cover a lot of ground very quickly. You'll find probably the 3 factory Citroens going completely different routes, and then all comparing their data at the end of each session to and moving their drivers off in that one direction which they feel is better.
Interesting to see Loeb picking up 0.2 of a second in the final sector, Lopez rather. Vallant still second and has gone back in with his very wayward Chevrolet. Sebastian Loeb third.
Yeah, John Philippi we're watching here. He's having a good run at the moment.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
One of his best runs per se.
Slightly surprised Grégoire de Moustier is not finding a little bit more speed either, because he tends to respond when the track is comfortable, i.e. there is nothing major to hit on the way around. This track's got a lot of run-off areas.
Well, there's a few tyre stacks around, aren't there?
Yeah, but they tend to be on the inside, not on the outside. However, there are a couple of places you can go off and have a fairly major one, and turn 12, I think, if you go off too far, you're going to have a major
he's
one.
Only a small, he's a slight lad, so and he sits on the left-hand side in that Chevy, so vision of those tyre stacks, pinpointing, you are looking for inches, and being able to pick up and judge that could be an issue for him.
Lopez faster again, 0.15 of a second quicker than his previous best. So that brings him down to a 1:39.5. And the fastest lap we had was a 1:38.26. So quicker than free practice 1, but not as quick as free testing. Mehdi Benani was very quick for most of the first free practice, ended up second quickest, 1:40.3, and his best lap at the moment 1:40.0, so he's found 0.3. Problem is Jose Maria Lopez has found 0.75 of a second. And Benani goes top. Well, well, well. So that was a good lap from the Moroccan driver.
There you go, just as the sun starts to drop away from us.
1:39.2 for Mehdi Benani. And he managed a 40.3 in FP1, so that's very 1.1 seconds quicker. I was going to say very nearly a second quicker. That's over a second quicker.
De Moustier's Chevy looks a bit of a handful there, bouncing around in the braking area. We could see the time start to tumble a wee bit, because as the sun drops away from us, the track temperature will fall off a cliff, and that's going to bring grip back into
I'm not sure it's going to drop so much, because the air temperature is still so high. It will, yes, definitely it will lose temperature, and tomorrow morning it will take a while to warm up. But I bet if you lay down on the track right now, it'll feel lovely and toasty.
That's probably where Alex and Ben are at the moment.
These areas, you know, when you're driving in the middle of the night, you often will find animals sleeping on the road because it's so warm.
Are you calling Alex and Ben animals?
No, not at all. Ben, definitely.
Only when he's been drinking.
Ben, I'm amazed that Ben even has the chutzpah to show his face on camera. I mean, goodness me. The less said about that, the better. But Alex has been fully acclimatised here. She's going to really struggle when she gets back to the UK.
They're all locking those rear tyres up, aren't they? They're inside rears. It kicks it into the air and it skips across the ground. And if they're not careful, it's okay 1 or 2 corners or 1 or 2 laps, but it can end up like a 50p piece. And so you can't cycle your tyres from front to rear. You know, you've got to be careful. I mean, they've got a long weekend ahead of them with these things, when, you know, and the limited tyres they have in their allocation.
With its short wheelbase, the Honda tends to be the choppiest of the lot, doesn't it? We've seen that a lot, the Honda hopping from one bump to another in a couple of braking areas. The Chevrolet and the Citroen, slightly longer wheelbase. The Lada sort of between the two. Tom Chilton currently fastest of all. That's a good lap. Norbert Michel is second. Tom. Hugo Vallant was second fastest early on. That's now 7th place.
I didn't see whether Tom he must have taken new tyres for that. It's whether the others have taken. Michelitz is down there as well. Michelitz is.
See, that's a good lap. Just 38.8, a 39.0 for Norby, 39.05 for Tiago. So Lopez is 39.39. Is now only 5th fastest. So this is definitely new tyre territory.
Vallant looks pretty committed here as well. So
Hugo always looks committed, doesn't he?
Driving out the pit lane, he looks committed.
He only has 2 speeds, off and committed. But actually, genuinely, with the pace of other Chevys as well as his own, he's definitely got top 5 potential here. And what would be really great is to see him qualify really well and start really well, because that is still a massive bugbear for him, getting the car off the line.
Obviously getting a wee bit hot there.
Yep.
Vallant's got top 5 potential at every round, Martin. It's just how long he stays on the track for. That's
absolutely.
That's the only question mark. They had a bit of a fire in there. Is that extinguisher powder?
I don't know.
We're just sort of getting rid of.
Yeah, it might be. Just overheating under the bonnet. Nico Lapierre out in the Chevy. As you can see, only just gone out in the Chevy, with chance of doing 2 laps, maybe a 3rd if he collects the checkered flag, or if the checkered flag comes out just after he starts a lap. That's going to be tough. This is his out lap from the pits, so he might get 2 flying laps, and that's really going to leave him struggling. Half an hour of testing, half an hour of free practice, compared to half an hour of testing and an hour of free practice for everybody else. Huff goes 10th. Best of the Ladas. They're a little bit disappointing in terms of pace here.
Extremely disappointing, considering I think they're hoping for big things. You know, considering the weight bonus they're going to be carrying this weekend, or lack of.
I'll tell you who might be showing well here. Chilton is 1st. Just see who just popped up to 5th. John Philippi is 5th. So Michelitz and Montero, 2nd and 3rd for Honda. Bonani 4th for Citroen. Philippi 5th in his Chevrolet Cruze. And Tom Chilton fastest in a Chevy Cruze. Lopez 6th, Loeb 7th, Vallant 8th in his Chevy, then Demoustier Chevy in 9th. So 1, 2, 3, 4 Chevys in the top 9.
Yeah, with no direct info from coming from the pit lane at the moment. You've got to, and we're having to sort of assume what tyres these guys are running on. You've got to assume that the Citroens aren't going for new tyres at the minute. They're saving them.
Yes, although Normally you would have a fresh tyre run at the end of free practice before you go into qualifying. Of course, this isn't going into qualifying. Qualifying is tomorrow morning. So yes, things that you would normally do might change now, because what you find on fresh tyres at this time of day will tell you nothing about qualifying. But with Muller in 12th and Marr just, where did he vanish to? Up to 10th. Tarquini goes 2nd. Muller 13th, Marr 11th. Loeb 9th, Lopez 8th. Let's hope they're confident at Citroën. I'm sure they are.
Those Honda Type R LED headlights are fantastic, aren't they? The way the daylight is around them as well. Do
you see the picture on Twitter of somebody who's done a pumpkin as a Honda Type R? I really love those devil eyes. Somebody needs to work that into next year's livery. That looked really very, very smart indeed. And that's one of the things about modern car design, is things like lights. You know, in the 60s they were round and you stuck them on the front and they had to be a certain height and certain distance apart. Now things like lights are all part of the look and the face and the design of the car, so much more than ever they were. And you get really crafty with the way that you use that facial expression on the front of the car, and you know, little rows of LEDs to look like eyebrows or whatever. Again, you look at Lapierre's Lada here, very distinct family face of design emerging from the Lada group, and these cars leading from the front. Lapierre's first flying lap ahead of Tin Suitre in his Chevy Cruze. Black and white flag and lap disallowed for Nicky Katzberg. Lap disallowed.
Lapierre moves up to 14th.
For Gabriele Tarquini, no, for Tom Coronel as well. In fact, we're only getting a few notifications on our timing screen here. There were a whole host of disallowed laps in FP1 that we weren't informed of on the timing screen.
Now they're either relaxing it. I can't believe the drivers are behaving themselves more than... Yeah, they're going to be.
Well, they know a little bit more where they're getting. So, you know, where you get those corners that join together, you've got the rhythm a bit better so you don't run out of road at the end of it. You know, think about somewhere like the Beckett's S's. It takes a couple of laps where you go piling in before you realise how much you have to slow down in the second element so that you're not running
Martin,
onto the grass.
I disagree. You take more and more and more. Unless Jonathan Palmer's got his little magic strips there to take photographs of you and pull you up. They've either had a word with the observers to relax it a bit, or they've had a word with the drivers and given them all the bony finger and said they're going to be given black flags, and that's making them behave themselves a bit more.
There were definitely more laps disallowed in FP1 than we saw on screen. We saw maybe 2 or 3 notifications, but there was a dozen and more, so I wouldn't be at all surprised to find the same here. I think they're notifying black and white flags particularly. Which is a sort of your final warning. See, the sun is almost below the horizon now, behind our main grandstand. As the cars come back in, you can actually see the effect of the lights. Normally you can barely tell the lights are on at all, but the sun has sunk. Definitely time to get some quinine into us, I think. You know, when you're in these tropical regions, can't take any chances with malaria. Lots of quinine. Tom Chilton ends up fastest after free practice 2, ahead of Gabriele Tarquini by 78 thousandths. Norbert Mikulits and Thiago Monteiro racked up there as well, showing that the Honda and the Chevrolet could offer a challenge to the dominant Citroën C-Élysées here this weekend. Lada though, Rob Huff 12th, Nico Lapierre on 3 flying laps, actually ahead of Nicky Katzberg, his teammate. So Lapierre getting up to speed very quickly. And in the end, Tom Coronel and Tin Suitre at the tail of the field.
Here in Thailand, Mr. Tom Chilton aboard a Chevrolet. Tom, it was a new tyre run, but it was a mega middle sector.
It was a mega middle sector, absolutely right. It's where all the corners are, it's very technical. So far up until now, which is FP2, I've had problems with the car, like damper problems, diff problems, clutch problems, and up until FP2 I'd only actually done 2 flying laps with a car which was working. So I was like, guys, I'm still learning the circuit, and we were debating if we just leave me out there on old tyres for like 10 laps just to get used to the circuit, because I've really done nothing. And it's a new circuit to us, and I was like, right, big push, boys, big push. And I pushed as hard as I possibly could, and they go, you're P1. I was like, yeah, but everyone else will go faster, don't worry. We've been last all weekend, still P1. So, you know, it's nice because in FP2 in Shanghai, I was second fastest. So it's nice to be second quickest there and fastest here, but we need to carry this through into qualifying. What was hard for us in Shanghai is qualifying, sadly, was in the morning. It was very cold and changed our setup. Now it's cold. I think we've now got a good setup in the cold conditions, but actually qualifying at 10 o'clock tomorrow will actually be quite hot the way Thailand works, so who knows where we're going to be.
We'll have a nice relaxing evening, and hopefully we'll see you at the circuit for morning qualifying this time, yeah?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Chilton will be setting about 6 alarms, won't he, after coming within an ace of missing qualifying last time out in Shanghai. So that is it then. Sun is down and time for the hijinks. Time for a quiet evening. Certainly no hijinks at all. Don't forget, qualifying starts at 10 tomorrow morning. That's Sunday morning for qualifying, and that's 10 local in GMT. That is 3 a.m. So we'll be on air from about 2:45, 2:50 GMT, which is just before 4 a.m. Central European time. A little bit more hospitable for those of you watching us on Eurosport Australia. Well, wherever you are around the globe watching on Eurosport or online, thanks for being with us. And on behalf of Matt Neal, Alex Legui and Ben Constantinos, Martin Haven saying we will see you tomorrow bright and early for qualifying and races. Qualifying, as I said, at 10 a.m. and the races get underway at 4, which is 9 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So the 2 races back to back here. The first from the World Touring Car Championship at Buriram in Thailand. And how much will free practice be reflected in qualifying? I'm certain we will see the Chevrolets further up the grid, but the Honda and Citroens will be swinging as ever to try and get through and grab pole position. A chance this weekend for Jose Maria Lopez to tie up his 2nd consecutive World Touring Car Championship title, and a whole host more. Lots of action to come from Thailand tomorrow morning, so join us for that. In the meanwhile, from us, it's goodbye.